Hi, welcome and welcome back. I hope you're doing well. Let's talk about future faking. Future faking is a tactic, a manipulative tactic that narcissists use to keep you on the hook and draw you in with something exciting or something that is aspirational for you or something that you desire and or that looks enticing. And they use this to pull you in and to capture your attention and to hold your interest while they draw supply from you. And that could include attention, admiration, praise. It could include material supply like money. It could include sex or other resources, connections, anything that you might have of value that they want for themselves. Now, what does that look like? Future faking will look different depending on the nature of your relationship with the narcissist. So you may have a romantic relationship, which is going to look different than a professional relationship, which will be different from a familial relationship, and or frenemies or a friendship or acquaintanceship. You also may have a situation where you encounter a con artist or a scammer. And so depending on the nature of your relationship and the dynamic there, that will kind of dictate or direct what type of future faking is going to be used with you. So the best thing that you can do is what you're doing right now. Educating yourself, getting information and even ideas and perspective and insights on signs that you should be looking out for, red flags, or just straight up war stories that you might be able to benefit from that may save you time, money, and other things in the long run. So, for example, if you are in a romantic relationship, future faking might look like the promise of marriage. Hey, let's get married. I shared with you about my bestie and her boyfriend who pursued her and insisted that she was the one for him and that he just had to marry her. And so much so that he tried to get my help in selecting a ring and making it all perfect just the way she would want it, until I foiled his plans. And I'm still catching heat for that to this day. Anyway, so it may look like the promise of children. Oh, hey, let's have a baby. We should have kids. Or if you've expressed that you want children, maybe the narcissist uses that to future fake you, to keep you on the hook. But then the days that you're supposed to be trying and the time frame maybe that you were looking at in terms of actually getting pregnant or having a baby kind of comes and goes, and you're like, well, wait a second, like I thought we were gonna have a baby, I thought we were gonna have kids. And it may also look like, hey, let's move in, or let's get a house, or let's get a dog, or let's travel the world together. And meanwhile, you're waiting, like, okay, and nothing's happening. And meanwhile, the dates keep getting pushed off, or the just the steps that are supposed to be taken to get to whatever it is, the house, the kids, the marriage, the wedding, it's not coming. The date keeps getting pushed out. You're waiting, watching, and maybe getting a little anxious, impatient, concerned, as you should be. And it seems like it's just never happening. And slowly you start to kind of question yourself, get discouraged, maybe get upset. Maybe you start to even make some threats yourself, like, look, I'm out of here if this isn't happening. But, or if you're really hooked in, and in romantic relationships, it can be easy to be hooked in. You've got a bond that goes way deeper and that's a lot stronger than, say, a coworker or a casual acquaintance or friend. It's a lot different. You're talking, you know, if you've been intimate, you know, there's the intimacy there and a tie from that, which is going to be a lot stronger, a lot harder to break from. And by the way, it's also something that a narcissist will use to keep you hooked in while you're being future faked. So the days will just keep getting put off, put off, put off. You're watching and waiting, nothing's happening, and it can get discouraging, it can get frustrating, and you can start to question yourself, second guess yourself, feel insecure. And trust me, a lot of this is by design, because one, it can keep you looking to the narcissist for validation or for even results, like, hey, you know, we are supposed to be doing this, or this is supposed to be happening, or we talked about taking our relationship in this direction, and giving them a sense of power, control, influence, while you kind of are floundering there in your emotions and in your thoughts and kind of losing steam, in a sense. Make sense? Anyway, professionally, what might that look like? Well, you may have a boss who you've been working for, and you're showing up early, you're getting all your work done, you're contributing, you're working well cross-functionally with other teams to be able to get your tasks finished on time, and maybe the boss has promised you a promotion. Oh, hey, you know, if you get this done, you know, we've got big plans for you. I've got some ideas for you, or got a place for you, special place for you over in this area or in this department or at this level, or, you know, some extra money for you. You know, like, hey, I've got a big bonus for you if you can knock this out. And so you're hustling, you're getting your stuff done, you're showing up, you're staying late, you're ordering takeout, all kinds of things to be able to appease this boss, or to do whatever he or she wanted, and in order to get the reward that he or she put out there for you. And you're knocking stuff out, and then meanwhile, more tasks are getting added. The timetable's getting pushed out. Maybe they have a little amnesia where they don't recall actually promising you X, Y, or Z, or, well, what I meant was, or, well, I didn't say exactly that, or, well, it's a little bit more complicated. And suddenly, again, you're second guessing yourself, you're getting impatient, you're getting frustrated, and which, you know, can maybe start to cause you to get in your feelings and maybe start to act out in ways that maybe the narcissistic boss may try to use against you. So there's so many different angles to this, but it's the same idea across relationships. And for example, in a friendship, it could be as simple as getting together for a lunch date. I remember talking to a grandiose female narcissistic acquaintance, and we talked about getting together and hanging out and stuff like that. And I remember the date kept getting pushed out. Every time we'd get literally up to the day, all of a sudden something would come up at the last minute and she'd have to cancel. And it kept happening and happening and happening. And of course, at the time, you know, I was so busy that I was like, okay, great, you know, just let me know. And it just kept kind of getting pushed out. And after a while, I started to think like, okay, what's going on here? And it didn't occur to me until later that, okay, the idea was she never intended to get together with me, right? Like, the whole idea was to just kind of string me along and keep me kind of chasing after her and chasing after this lunch date or whatever that never happened, and giving me the impression that, oh yeah, well, you know, I've got to do this and handle that, and, you know, when I get back in town. But then she would get back in town, but then nothing would happen. It would just keep going on and on and on. So even with acquaintances, you can get the same kind of a thing where you start to go, okay, like, what's wrong? Like, why is this so difficult? And if you have had the misfortune of coming across a con artist or a scammer, you know, that may be someone who possibly approaches you and maybe has researched you, has looked at your online profile, looked at your social media, and who has presented you with opportunities or dangled something in front of you that would appeal to you. It could be a project. that they have dangled in front of you, or a request for help or support in a certain area or with a certain project that they're doing. And they may try to draw you in for collaboration on something that is never going to happen. They don't have the means, resources, or even the inclination to make it happen, because the real goal is to draw you in and to get you to give them supply, whether it's money, attention. In some cases, it could be sex. It could be access to people that you know. It could be any number of things, but the idea is that whatever is being presented to you is not going to happen. With the alleged murderer, for example, he had everyone hyped up about landing a TV deal, and he had roles and ways that he needed everybody to assist him. And so that's what he dangled in front of everyone, duped an entire community. And unfortunately, a lot of people got hurt in different ways, whether it was financially, where they had invested money, or they had maybe given away resources, like restaurants who maybe had made food donations for something that was related to what he was supposedly working on. One by one, people start falling off the cliff because nothing's happening. The dates keep getting moved, or it's not really clear when all this is going to happen, or okay, how's this going to play out? And the narcissist doesn't have any answers. A lot of times I would get ghosted by the alleged murderer when I would ask specific questions, or when I would make requests like, hey, why don't you let me know when you've got this, and this in place, and then I can jump in. Or let me know when you hear about this. Or I'd ask a question or follow-up question about getting more information. Hey, I need more information about X, Y, and Z. And then I would get ghosted. I wouldn't hear anything back. And a lot of times narcissists will ghost you because they know that they are playing you and they don't have an answer for you. So either they're taking time to formulate an answer, or they are avoiding you, and they will mask it as being busy or having a lot going on. I know the alleged murderer would always talk about how crazy everything was, and he was traveling here and there and doing this and that and had this and that going on, or these meetings, and that was often the excuse for not being able to get back in a timely fashion with questions that I had, or with information or more details or things like that. And really, the bottom line is there weren't any, because it was all made up. It was all fabricated. So when you are dealing with individuals, say maybe on more of a business standpoint, like collaboration or some kind of a project or group effort, that type of thing, that's one of those situations where you'll want to really do your fact checking, and you'll want to really dig into the background on this individual before you engage, so that you know what's going on. You can validate whether or not the project or the opportunity is real, and also whether or not the individual that you're dealing with is real. If they are who they say they are, if they have the means and the resources or the inclination or the track record to even do what they say they're going to do for or with you. Also, in my relationship with my dad did a lot of future faking when I was growing up. One example was that we would get in the car, he would gather everybody together, say, hey, let's get in the car, let's go drive, let's go look at houses. And we would get in the car, typically it was on a weekend, like a Sunday, and we would all cruise around in these really beautiful neighborhoods in my hometown, where he had spotted these homes that he wanted to purchase and claimed that he was going to pursue for our family. And we lived in a small apartment. And we would drive through the neighborhood, and he would start slowing down, and he would pull up in front of these homes, and he would point out the features that he really liked about each house. And he would talk about the fact that, oh, this one's up for sale, or I'm going to look into this one and see what the deal is, or I'm going to call and find out. But he would point out the things that he liked about the neighborhood, and he would really get us like swept up in the vibe of the neighborhood and how pretty it was, and the quiet tree-lined street, and the meticulously manicured lawn, or the structure of the building, how many stories it had, how many bedrooms and baths it had, where we would start to get caught up in the wave and start envisioning ourselves, you know, picking flowers from the front yard, or having space in the building, or being able to relax in the living room or what have you, or have dinners in the dining room, and start to really buy into the fantasy. And ultimately, it never happened. And not only did it not happen, but my dad, because of his unhealed trauma from his childhood, he wasted a lot of money that could have gone to a down payment on any one of the homes that we drove by so that we could purchase it. But he wasted a lot of money by cashing out stock and buying drugs and going on binges on the weekends on a regular basis. At one point in time, it became a regular thing, almost weekly. And a lot of that money just literally went up in smoke. And by the time I graduated and was heading off to college, there was no house. And not only that, but we were nowhere near being able to purchase one. My mom was working a couple of jobs. She had taken on extra work. In addition to her profession, she had taken on some extra side jobs in retail just to pay for my tuition and to pay for other things as well. And I absolutely respect her for that. But the reasoning behind it bothered me a lot growing up. And obviously, it's water under the bridge now. My dad has been deceased for a number of years, and my mom has gone on to live her best life. And I know that we have done our best to encourage her along her journey after my dad, after the marriage had ended, or she ended the marriage, and of course after his death. So, but future faking played a huge role in my upbringing. And so in some ways, it's no wonder that I would be susceptible to future faking even as an adult. And those are things that you might want to look into, dig deep on as well, that can provide you with some clues and even some answers, long overdue and long awaited answers, as to why you were susceptible to the charms of the narcissist in your life. Future faking is, it can just be downright cruel in so many ways, but it is definitely one of the biggest tactics used by the narcissist to really draw you in and hold your attention and to keep you captive while they draw supply from you. And you may or may not even be aware of it until later. You may have to go through it a few times, even as an adult, to be able to figure out that something's not quite right, or things aren't really falling into place or happening, and they're not going to. And furthermore, you may have to do some deep digging to find out where in your childhood or upbringing you were trained and taught to tolerate the future faking of the narcissist in your adult life, so that you can put everything together, piece everything together, and really heal and not be susceptible to future faking by others going forward. You're not alone and you're not crazy. Know who you're dealing with, know who you are. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.